Strategy Show. It's Monday, baby. That means we're breaking down everything from the previous week, week 15, applying some lessons to learn for week 16. By the way, for those of you that know, start this one a little bit late each week because I do the NBA Strategy Show up to 11 a.m. Eastern. I had to feed the dog. Need to take a break there for a quick second, but we've got plenty of time to break it down. Manny, Laura, Dave Locker. Manny, how we doing today, man?
Fantastic, man. Of course, we had a huge weekend. The live finals were this weekend, both in Puerto Rico and then here in Miami for FanDuel and DraftKings. Massive tournaments across the industry. I know there were huge ones on Yahoo as well, too. Like, it was just one of those weekends where if you ever had a week where you wanted to play your best DFS, it had to be this week. There were massive prize pools and, yeah, obviously a ton of stuff to go over now.
Yeah, and you proxied for someone at the DraftKings final, and he did quite well.
Yeah, Mr. Goodseeds, good friend of mine. He wasn't able to make it. I think he had, some compromises with his kids or whatever. But he ended up placing second. It was an insane sweat. I think that netted him $1 million, $2 million to first, $1 million to second. So $1 million, man, I'd say that's a pretty darn good payday. That's his third million of his career.
Pretty good.
Yep.
Tom Kennedy, CEO of Awesemo, qualified. He offered for he offered for Justine and me to go.
Nice.
And very, very nice offer. Would have loved to have gone, but couldn't make it happen, unfortunately. Would have been fun to hang out down there, but
for sure.
Appreciate you offering that time. Would have been cool. There was just no way it was going to work, but here we are, and we've got a lot to talk about, breaking everything down. Glad to have all of you guys with us, as always. Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, sponsor of the NFL Strategy Show. If you haven't checked them out yet, go ahead and do so now. Get it to $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points simply by signing up through us at awesemo.com. Very simple way to do it. Go to awesemo.com, click on the NFL tab and the articles section. You'll see the free showdown article from EMAC today. It's free every day. Suggest you check that out, whether or not you've signed up for Yahoo anyway. And scroll to the bottom, you'll see the Yahoo link. Click that. When you sign up, use the code AWESEMO. Sounds like a lot, but it's very simple. Just use the article, click the link, sign up with the code AWESEMO, and you get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports Rewards points, those YSRPs, when you deposit. YSRPs, they're as good as cash to be used on the site to play and win real money. A lot of great contests over at Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports as well. $30,000 NBA baller today. Coming up next week, $175,000 NFL baller for week 16. You got Saturday games as well. 3 Saturday games contests they're running out there for that as well. Can't wait for that. It's a lot of fun. No Thursday, but 3 Saturday. I would take that every day or every week, no question. So sign up through us. Use that Awesemo link under NFL articles. It's the showdown slate. Click it. Use the sign up code Awesemo. Get your $30 in YSRPs and use them on the site as cash to win real money. It's Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports, sponsor of the NFL Strategy Show. So, Manny, I don't think we have. I wanted to look it up. Do we have is the live final pulled up on? Can we pull it?
Yes, indeed, man. Yep.
We can pull it up.
Yes, sir.
All right. Why did I not see it?
If you could maybe you pulled it up too early. If you refresh, the Fantasy Football Championship is in there. Sort by prize pool, and you'll see it's the first one. 10 million guaranteed.
I did, and the only thing coming up is, oh, you know what? I know why. Because I'm dumb. Because I had week 14.
Of course.
That's why. $10 million. You want to take a look at this one first?
Yeah, let's do it, man. Mm-hmm.
All right. By the way, we'll get into the Millie Maker, but there was actually a guy in the top 10, I think he finished 8th, that didn't have Brashad Perriman, which was pretty crazy.
Ooh, interesting.
So 180 degrees Miami, a cool $2 million. I mean, you've got to be shitting me, man.
One entry, too.
One entry. Here's the lineup. Patrick Mahomes, by the way, he scored 220.9 DraftKings points. Did you see the exposure sum was 163%?
Yeah, I think the exposure sum for most of the top lineups was a little bit higher this week than we're used to. I think a lot of the chalk did very well.
Even in a small field, like it was still surprising to see some of them this high, right? But
Yep.
One thing that we see work so often is just going heavy on chalky, expensive chalky running backs. Not always the cheap ones, because that doesn't always pay off. But when you look at like my exposure to McCaffrey, Barkley, and Carson, they were my 3 highest owned running backs by far. I think I had 73% Barkley, 55% Carson, and 30-some% McCaffrey. Just because you and I talked about it on Sirius XM on Awesemo Radio on Saturday. Check that out, 5 to 7 p.m. Sirius 210 XM 87. Love to have you guys join us each weekend. And then Sunday, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Sirius 210 XM 87. But we talk about it a lot. Like the volume over efficiency thing with running backs is real. And with McCaffrey and Barkley and Carson, you're always going to get that volume. Now, Barkley's definitely disappointed at times, but against Miami as 3-point favorites, they were finally in a favorable spot. So this guy had Mahomes at 4%, McCaffrey at 27%, Barkley at 42%, Chris Conley with the late game 2 touchdown second half surge came up huge. He was 26%. Really liked him last week, but this goes to show you that these live final fields are definitely sharper. 25.6%. Greg Ward, 12.8%. Tyreek Hill, so he went 2 value wide receivers and then Tyreek Hill with Patrick Mahomes. Just a single quarterback wide receiver stack. Didn't run it back. Tyler Higbee, 34%. Boston Scott at minimum salary, and the Patriots defense. So Manny, he paid up for defense, paid up for 1 receiver, both running backs, and quarterback. That's a heck of a lineup.
Yeah, no, it's as stars as scrubby as you can get in NFL, right? When you have Mahomes to Tyreek, you have McCaffrey and Barkley, and then everything else is seemingly just value, right? Conley, Ward, Higbee, Boston Scott. I mean, talk about the ending of the 1 p.m. games with your Eagles game. By the way, at the final, it felt like it was a Eagles game of how many people rostered Greg Ward. It was just like as soon as that touchdown happened, I kind of faded. I didn't have enough Greg Ward at all. And it was just one of those things where it's like they scored and the place erupted. And I was like, dude, all right, it's an Eagles crowd in here. It's really because everyone just rostered him as their value. And he was a good play. He really hadn't done anything, right?
He was a good play, yeah.
Yeah. It was a good play. He hadn't done anything, I think, until that last drive, and he went from like 5 or 6 points to 19 here to obviously give him a huge victory. And then the ending of the 4 o'clock games was massive, right? Conley had 2 touchdowns in the second half. Like you said, Higbee had a very huge day, but he also had, and this is what I mentioned on the podcast too, is he was in first for I think almost the entire way. Ever since the 1 p.m. games, he had a lead. Obviously, look at that lineup, but in the 4 o'clock wave where Julio was going ham and obviously Higbee was doing well, Zeke was doing well. There were so many guys doing well in that 4 o'clock wave where he didn't have any of those guys except Higbee and Conley, which were actually pretty decently owned. So he was just trying to fight off everyone behind him in those 4 p.m. games and still was able to come up 7 points ahead of the next best lineup. So well done for this guy.
Greg Ward had 40 yards and a touchdown in the final 4 minutes of the game. Yep. Pretty amazing. Insane. He had 6 yards in the first half. Through 3 quarters, he had 2 receptions for 12 yards. And then in the fourth quarter, basically almost all of his production, right? Ended up having 49 yards and a touchdown in that fourth quarter with 7 minutes or less remaining. But it made sense. I mean, they're completely battered at wide receiver. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside's been bad. But Miles Sanders also had a huge game. This is the first time I've watched Miles Sanders and thought, wow, this dude might actually become a legitimate 3-down back that can really play. I mean, the touchdown in the corner of the end zone, the 50-plus yard run, the screen pass production, the burst, the vision. This was a different Miles Sanders. I don't care if it's Washington. Like, you would agree, this is a different Miles Sanders than we've seen all season long.
Yeah, and he does it in so many different ways, right? I still think he can improve in between the tackles a little bit, but when he's in space, he is electric, dude. The speed is, I'd say, top-tier speed in this league from a running back, and he's proven it. As a receiver, the guy is, I mean, I'm putting him top 5 maybe receivers right now as far as running backs are concerned, and that's saying something because he's a rookie. Dude, the guy is fantastic. obviously making catches in the back of the end zone. Like anytime someone throws it downfield like that or into the end zone like that, you rarely see a running back be at the back of the end zone catching, trying to tiptoe the sideline or something. You know what I mean? Like he has played exceptionally well over the last month, and it's for fantasy, dude, the upside is there too, man. Ever since they had injuries to that backfield and he's kind of had to step up and be that 3-down guy for them, dude, he's been fantastic. Maybe that's what he needed. Kind of a blessing in disguise for Philly, where someone goes down, totally fine. And not that Jordan Howard was having a bad year or anything, just as soon as he went down, well, we got to use our kid now all of a sudden. And he's come up big time for them. So, yeah, making big time plays. I love what I'm seeing out of Miles Sanders.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at Mr. Good Seats. You proxied for him.
Yep.
He had 6 entries. He came in 2nd, 19th, 24th, 42nd, 65th, and 89th. Not bad at all. I mean, That's a big-time performance. The first thing that stood out to me, by the way, though, he had Packers defense in all but one lineup.
I know. Very interesting, huh? We talked about it because we go back and forth a lot on strategy and stuff. And it's like we are now trying to get as different as we can on defense because it's truly just a toss-up. It's 100% just a toss-up. There's no way you can project that. And kind of going so here's my thing, like going the optimal way and picking like the 2K defense like everyone else really does nothing for you. And how many times have we come on this show and said, well, the 2K defense, the Lions or the Cardinals or whoever, they're almost free because they're playing like a semi-bad quarterback. But that's a really bad defense, and teams are always going to be projected to score points on them. They never do anything, and they're always like, I don't know, 20, 30% owned some weeks, 15 to 20% owned in large field tournaments. Like, it almost doesn't even make sense playing them, no matter if you get extra salary. They don't do anything, and just getting away from that, obviously the Packers getting 13 was a huge help. I think it's something that we should look into maybe going forward these last couple weeks.
Absolutely. And here we go again. Look at the quarterbacks. We say it every week.
Yep.
6 lineups, 5 different quarterbacks.
Yep. I think that's the way it should be, right? I think you need to differentiate just a little bit, just in case one doesn't go off. And that's exactly what happened. No one got over 20 fantasy points except Winston in his top lineup.
Exactly. And let's go one further. We're seeing this again, the second place finish. It was 6 lineups, 6 with McCaffrey, 5 with Barkley. There you have it. Once again, right? His Kenyon Drake lineup was not his second place lineup, which is pretty impressive.
It was his second lineup, but not the second place overall.
Not the second place lineup, right? It was
right.
19th overall. And when you look at his exposure sum, he had some pretty popular players like Barkley and McCaffrey for very good reason. He had Conley there. He had Chris Godwin, very chalky. Actually, less than I thought, 16%. Wow. And it's crazy. If Chris Conley didn't get hurt, would we have seen something different? Could he have won this?
Yep. It's so true. Godwin's injury was devastating for the majority of that. Well, the good portion that rostered him, right?
Yeah, exactly. And to take it a step further, though, did he spread out receivers? He had a lot of Amendola, which is a little bit surprising, but he was a good play, knowing that he was going to get targeted a ton with Marvin Jones out. 50% Landry, 50% Westbrook, 33% Kirk. He had 1 Fitzgerald lineup, 1 Beckham, 1 Woods, 1 Conley, 1 Godwin. It's kind of funny. You look at his wide receivers, and outside of Conley and Amendola, like Kirk was not good. Landry wasn't good.
Westbrook
was terrible. Woods was terrible. Fitzgerald was terrible. Beckham was like okay. But his wide receivers in a big way let him down. And he still finished up there. Why? Because he just had all of the Barkley and the McCaffrey. He had 6 out of 6 Tyler Higbee and 1 double tight end lineup with Darren Waller. That came in, I think it was at the 42nd or 24th. And then a lot of Packers, but some really interesting lineup construction here. His wide receivers were not very good. Like Amendola was, but he only had 1 Chris Godwin, and basically 80% of his wide receivers, 70% of the wide receivers he played, underwhelmed in a huge way.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you could look at this lineup and say, if Amendola wasn't down at the 1, does he get to 2 million? Right? Amendola, I think, was down at the 1 on his catch right there next to the end zone. And it's funny how it works. We always say it takes one. If you look at that top lineup, it's the only lineup that doesn't have a dud at receiver, right? Because you mentioned all these awful receivers: Landry, Westbrook, Kirk, Fitz. You named them all, but the lineup in second place for him had the perfect combination, at least that you could with his core, right? Which was Conley, Godwin, Amendola at the receiver spots, and then he just went with Barkley, McCaffrey, and Higbee around them or whatever. But it was that one lineup really that had no duds there that was able to get him. We always say, and this is why you spread out your ownership, right? This is why you diversify a little bit. Because when you can use, say, a Winston to Godwin, it'll leave you much more. It'll leave you less salary than a Baker Mayfield to Jarvis Landry would, or Derek Carr to Waller would, and you get different bills this way. And yeah, it was actually perfect the way it came out there at the end. Obviously, you need some luck when you're playing something of this magnitude, but if you can put yourself in good positions, man, that's all it takes. All it takes is just one.
Just seeing this now, but usually all these finals have a min cash. It looks like this one didn't.
Because they paid it out already beforehand. I think that's what it is.
Right.
They do it different now, right?
The live final I qualified for in San Diego, it did. It paid out $20,000 up front.
Correct.
And then but there was still like $5,000 min cash on that one. So
interesting.
I thought there was, at least, because I had Adrian Peterson, I remember, and I had two guys that got injured, so I didn't finish near the top. I wasn't at the bottom either, but I'm pretty sure.
This one has the 15K min cash, but you're paid that out beforehand. So the guys, right, you just won't see it down there. They just already received the money, so they're actually not getting anything for the actual event. And then since 150th and up gets 17,000 or higher, which is 2,000 more than the min cash. That's what we show on lineup site.
Right, and that's still pretty disappointing, yep, for sure.
Yep.
The last place, blind bet Jack. Let's see what happened here. So like you said, $15,000 won, profit zero. Yeah. He had one lineup: Gardner Minshew, Chris Carson, Dalvin Cook, that hurts, Dede Westbrook, Deebo Samuel, Greg Ward, Ian Thomas, Leonard Fournette, 49ers D. So didn't go Conley in the Minshew stack. And so did he not run it back with anything? It looks like he didn't. So he just
he didn't. He just went Minshew to Fournette and Westbrook there.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, me neither. Just very volatile players, right? Like guys like Deebo Samuel, Greg Ward, Ian Thomas, just extremely volatile. And I'm not even sure if that trio has enough upside to even win you much, right? Like you're going to need massive games, not just from Carson and Cook, but Fournette as well, while you're playing him with Gardner Minshew and Dede Westbrook. You're kind of limiting your upside, in my opinion, there. So questionable lineup here. I agree.
So this next one that came second to last, I don't have an issue with a Dallas stack. I liked Dallas. I bitched about this on Sirius yesterday quite a while, and I'll tell you why, Manny. This game ended up scoring like 64 total points, and Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup combined for 25 yards on 2 receptions.
I mean, might as well throw in Randall Cobb in there too. He didn't do
minus 4 yards on 1 reception. We're minus 3. Like, seriously, that's the nut low outcome.
Yep.
I don't even hate this lineup. He ran a stack in a game that had 64 points. And
brutal. And
awful. Just nobody came through.
Yeah, no, it was one of those things to where that's just how the game goes, right? Sometimes Zeke is going to have those games and it's going to take away from Dak and the receiving core, right? But it was I want to say not even a floor game. I didn't even think this was a floor, to be honest. I thought the floor was much higher than this, but it feels like it's just one of those outliers. It's just really, really tough to kind of stomach where Dallas puts up that many points. They actually blow out the Rams, and the receivers virtually did nothing. He ran it back with Woods as well. So he had the game script, at least for Woods. Didn't work out either. Like, it was just a rough go. Like that situation that played out, I'd say it has a really small chance of happening.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, You're talking about the 1, 2, and 3 receivers in this game. They scored 43 points. I know one was a run back. Or no, one was Tony Pollard. He had a huge game.
Right.
They scored 43 points, I think. And their 1, 2, and 3 receivers combined for 3 receptions for 22 yards.
Yep. It's one of those things you can't explain. Then you pair, I mean, if you were him, pairing it with Ian Thomas and McCaffrey, maybe questionable. I think that might be okay. Maybe questionable. Patrick Laird.
I wouldn't have done that.
I mean, the whole Laird play too. Like, there were so many things where I agree. For the most part, he got really unlucky with that Dallas game. So and by the way, this guy's a very, very good player. I just it's kind of unfortunate how it played out with Dallas. Really, that's the only reason he was down there, I think.
Yeah, not big on Laird, but what I'm saying is the game stack for Dallas that scores that many points and gives you nothing.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Is very unlikely scenario.
That is brutal.
Familiar name in 4th place, our boy Alex Baker.
Yep.
$610,000 profit. $610,000, Manny.
Like if he needs any more, right? Like if he needs any more, man. We were talking about it yesterday. We were having a drink after the event. We were there with a couple of the guys, and imagine you're at that level that he is, and still a very humble dude, man. Such a good guy, and he's open to just talking about whatever you want, really. I mean, people were commenting like, it's crazy how you can be this good of a player while still giving out all the information he does on a daily basis
and still
being on top of your game. Like, it's very, very impressive.
No question. He had 5 lineups, and here's what we got. So let's take a look at his top lineup. The 4th place finish first. $500,000. Derek Carr. I loved Derek Carr, man, and I was so frustrated to see that after that first quarter, everything went downhill.
Yep.
But he stacked him with Darren Waller, and that was it. Because other than Tyrell Williams, there wasn't much else to stack with.
Correct.
And ran it back with Conley, so did just a small stack, quarterback, wide receiver, opposing wide receiver. Saquon Barkley. He had Ty Johnson as well. He had a lot of Ty Johnson, as a matter of fact. Danny Amendola. Julio Jones with the huge game against a very banged-up 49ers defense. Darren Waller, Christian McCaffrey, and Eagles D. So when you look at player usage here, 5 lineups, 4 different quarterbacks. He also liked this Dallas stack, by the way. So if you look at the 2 Dak Prescott lineups, he had Amari Cooper and Gallup, but he didn't go full game stack here. He just went with 1 receiver in each, and I don't know if he even ran it back with anybody. I don't think he did, man.
One Dak one, he ran it back. The other one,
with Gurley, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, ran it back with Gurley, but outside of that, not a lot. So no major game stacks here, which makes sense in a 180 player field. That's what you expect to see. Like that's the whole thing with that. The one lineup we just talked about, there's like the one lineup that had the full out game stack. That's the risk you run, is when it goes wrong, it goes really, really bad. It's just, it didn't go wrong that they scored 10 points. They scored 43. Anyway, what do you make of his lineups here? 4 different quarterbacks, 5 of 5 Barkley, 4 of 5 Carson, a lot of Ty Johnson, a lot of Amendola and Chris Conley, and then 4 of 5 Darren Waller. No Higbee here.
Yeah, no, interesting. A few things to note here. By the way, none of his quarterbacks even scored 20 points, and he was still able to get up there. Just made really, really solid plays. I love Dak too. Kind of unfortunate that Zeke was able to get all those touchdowns. Pollard got one. So, like, you didn't get the ceiling game you wanted from Dak. And kind of in his defense, the people he paired with Dak didn't really do much. So that was kind of unfortunate. Again, we just talked about it. He just didn't get the bounce to go his way. It was funny because kind of sweating there at the end, he had Carr going and had him with Waller, and just Carr couldn't muster anything there at the end. They couldn't really win the game. Like, it was just brutal. They couldn't win the game at the end. The field goal was just a bunch of shenanigans. You thought they still had a chance at overtime at the end, and it just didn't come out to fruition. But Barkley, Conley, Amendola, Julio Jones was kind of his pivot from some of the top-owned receivers. And, dude, he had a massive, massive game. He actually got into 4th place, I believe, with the last Julio Jones touchdown there, the one that barely crossed the goal line. So a lot of luck involved in something like this. But again, putting yourself in those spots, McCaffrey having a huge game, getting away from, I say just, the chalky of chalk defenses. He had Eagles up there. He had even a Chiefs, couple Giants. He did really, really well, man. And that Julio play, man, that's pretty next level, especially to run that at a final.
Adam Baum Mother says the Dallas stack predictably failed. Rams defense is nasty, and Rams pass defense is nasty, and Garrett loves to run with the lead. Well, the second part of that, Garrett loves to run with the lead. It was a 1-point spread, and Dallas won by like 100. I mean, okay, in what world do you see that happening where they just go on to absolutely demolish the Rams who had been playing well? Like,
yeah, no, it's no one actually predicted that.
This guy wasn't stacking them with the assumption that they were going to be up by 20. Like,
right.
You're stacking them with the assumption that it's a close game, or because they had lost 3 straight and came limping into this game, that they were playing from behind and Dak was forced to throw. But you're not saying, oh yeah, they're up by 20 points at halftime. That's crazy. Come on, that's the.
I'm smarter than Vegas. Vegas has it as a 1-point spread. Nah, I know it's gonna be by 3 scores. No worries.
Yeah,
come on.
They scored 44 points. Like, go and find me any spot like where this happens and your 1, 2, and 3 receivers have 22 yards and 3 receptions. That's just absurd.
Yeah, no, I don't buy it. Sorry.
Like, it's fine if you didn't like the stack. Totally understandable. But to act like, oh yeah, I knew they were going to be up 3 touchdowns.
The lie detector determines that's a lie.
Like you said, your magic. What do you say? Fortune teller? Or,
yeah, dude,
magic?
A time machine. Dude, if you have a 1-use time machine, go use it on the Powerball, dude. Hurt us by 300 million.
Let's take a look at the Millie Maker.
I have one after this Millie Maker I want to check out. So that's...
Yeah.
And I think we never really do single entry stuff. So after we'll take a look at a single entry.
Absolutely. Mike Campbell says from a gambling perspective, it was the buy low spot for Dallas, sell high Ram spot. Absolutely. No question.
Sure.
Like, yep. I liked Dallas, but I liked this to be a competitive game. That's
Agreed.
the difference. Look, I know they were at home and they were only 1-point favorites, but they were still favored. That says something for a team that was coming off 3 ugly losses. But I mean, there's no doubt that game went, even if you had Dallas to cover or whatever, I highly doubt that you're getting that type of result. Trey says, I get it though. There were so many better options. No question, dude. But also keep in mind, like Manny said, nobody at the top of the position, nobody at the top of the DraftKings Live final, even outside of the one Winston lineup, had any quarterbacks that had huge games.
Yep. Totally agreed. It was outside of, and even then you thought Winston was probably going to start a little rough after that first interception, and he just turned it. He almost had 300 in the first half.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those things. He was just far and away past everyone. No one really did anything else at QB.
Absolutely.
Patrick Mahomes maybe, but
yeah, no question. By the way, remember Dallas earlier this year? They had a huge lead against Miami and kept throwing it.
Yeah.
When Ezekiel Elliott should have had a monster game, it ended up being Amari Cooper against Xavier Howard. So just throwing it out there. It's easy to look back on these things and be like, oh, wow, why would you play him? But if I told you that game scored, 64 points or whatever it was, you'd be like, oh, nice. So glad I stacked it. Anyway, let's take a look at the Millie Maker, Manny. Make sure I got the right one. That's the wrong one. Okay, so I'll pull up week 15 because
winner scored 260. Holy bananas!
Crazy. And you know what's wild? You just look at that live final. Like, not many people had Drake at the top, and really, did anyone have Perriman at the top?
Yeah, no, that's weird, man. Yeah. So the first place did have Perriman, and then I think fourth had Perriman.
Okay. Oh, by the way, Timothy makes another good point. Gallup and Amari were 5,700 and 6,500 on DraftKings.
I played him a lot, man, and it didn't work out.
So did I. And look, I'll be straight. I'm pretty pissed about it. I think I had like 17% Dak, which means a lot of stacks from that game. Right. So maybe I'm just heated. But That's literally the worst case scenario that you could get, no question. But anyway, moving on. RBX 88. Do you know who this guy is?
I do not. No.
Me neither. But he played. I wasn't a knock on him. I just don't know who he is.
Right.
Played 150 lineups, and he wins this with a Winston, Carson, Barkley. There you have it again. 2 chalk running backs, 2 high-price chalk, high-volume running backs. Brashad Perriman, Chris Conley. This is the nuts. Like
This is the nuts.
I mean,
you can't get anything better.
Chris Godwin, who got hurt, Tyler Higbee, Kenyon Drake, and the Packers. You've got to be joking me, man.
That's the best possible lineup I think you can make, dude. Like, that looks insanely good.
Let's see how close it was. You know, we always do the DraftKings perfect lineup. Let's see how close it was to this.
That's really good, man.
Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous. So, he did have Winston, right? Okay.
Yeah, Winston. Mm-hmm.
So, Winston, Elliott, Sanders. Wow, it's totally different almost, except Perriman, Higbee, and Drake. The perfect lineup, get this, Manny. Winston, Elliott, Sanders, Julio Jones, Anthony Miller, Brashad Perriman, Higbee, Kenyon Drake, Vikings defense. He had Winston, so the same one there, Carson and Barkley. Neither of them were in the perfect lineup. Perriman, Chris Conley, Godwin, Higbee, Drake, and the Packers.
That's 4 people. No, 4 players.
That's crazy, right? The perfect lineup on DraftKings or for DraftKings was 313 fantasy points.
That's nuts, man. I to me, this is probably something the closest you can get to actually making a really good lineup. Probably the best, like that Kenyon Drake game, man. First of all, how do you have the nuts and then also have Kenyon Drake? You got to run pure to have that lineup. I wasn't on Drake at all. I don't know about you, but I wasn't on Drake. Anyway.
No. Well, and I wish I was because the game had a higher total, but sure. I guess it just felt like, and maybe in hindsight, this is a mistake that I made where I should have had a little bit more Drake because he wasn't expensive. But I'll be honest, I got spooked from looking at last week and seeing that David Johnson played almost 40% of the snaps, and Chase Edmond played 20% of the snaps, and Kenyon Drake's snap count went down pretty significantly. Like that concerned me a little bit.
Yep, for sure. And again, to still 5% owned in this tournament, still significant for a guy that really wasn't on my radar. And then how do you play them over or him over? I don't know, McCaffrey, for the people that like Laird, for the people that were on Fournette, for the people that were on Gurley. Like there were so many guys ahead of him that it's just like, man, that's to land there. And then on top of it, get 4 touchdowns on top of the 100 yards. Like, you gotta run really good in this tournament to win this thing.
Right. I mean, that's crazy. That is crazy. But yeah, there you have it. That's the line. That's the winning lineup. His player exposure was 30. So the guy that won, get this, ready? The guy that won the Millie Maker had 21% Dak Prescott. His highest owned quarterback was Dak Prescott. His second highest was Jimmy Garoppolo, Kyler Murray, Eli Manning, Gardner Minshew, Russell Wilson. He had, here we go again, 3 Jameis Winston lineups. How much? He had 4 Perriman lineups. Why can't this happen to me?
By the way, look at the time machine at running back. Go look at running back. Are you kidding?
Okay.
How?
Wow. He did have 31% Drake, so give him that. But
how do you get there? That's nuts, man.
That is wild. That's
crazy.
Wow, man. How about that? But we see this so often. And like props to the dude. I don't know him, but I mean, $1 million. Right. I pull my hair out sometimes where it's like they have 1 or 2 or 3 lineups out of 150 with a quarterback, and it happens to be the nuts. Like, Now he had a lot of Drake, so Drake was in there. That's good. And that's kind of what you're hoping for, is that you hit on that low-owned stack because you have Carson and in a lot of lineups, and you have Barkley in a lot of lineups, and it just happened to be that one. But he had virtually no Brashad Perriman. He had 4 out of 150 Brashad Perriman, Manny. And it all happened to land in the same lineup.
All it takes is one, baby.
Crazy,
I
right?
love it, man. First of all, 31% Kenyon Drake. That is serious, man. Like a 5% owned back, and you just almost load up. He's your second highest owned running back. That takes some serious fortitude, man. Like that is fantastic. And it didn't even matter that his receivers were hot garbage, right? If you just have that much Drake and then just have one lineup with, good receivers around him, that's all it took, man. Very, very, very well done. At least that one lineup.
Oh man, crazy, crazy, crazy. And then Shore 44. I went over this on Sirius last night. He had a Tannehill at the top, Manny.
Yep.
Tannehill played 23 lineups, and his quarterback exposure was very spread out. So he had what? 8 different quarterbacks.
Yep.
8 quarterbacks and 23 lineups. 69% Carson. Wow, look at this. 2 Barkley lineups, 2 McCaffrey lineups, 2 Miles Sanders lineups, 3 Z. Look how spread out this running back exposure is. That's nuts.
He had 3 Zekes and one of the Zekes won. He had was in that winning lineup or the second winning lineup. By the way, yeah, he finished about half a point behind the first place guy. So close. Saquon Barkley, he only had 2 Saquons that was also in that Zeke lineup. Like, it's just one of those things like, okay, now he had 1 Brashad Perriman. It was also in that lineup. And it's just like, how, dude? How does this work, man? I never run that good, dude.
I know.
I would never,
no question.
I'll have them, just one lineup, but they won't all be together. Impossible. They're all together, dude. That's nuts.
Oh, man. Look at that. Look at that. He had like 1 or 2 or 3 out of 23 that all ended up in the right lineup.
Yep.
By the way, how good does AJ Brown look?
Oh my goodness.
He's like a man amongst boys.
He has all the tools. He has all the physical attributes you need to be a legit number 1 in this league. Like, he is fast, strong, like he gets up there, his hands are great, route running's great. Like, what can't he do? And he's a rookie. Unbelievable. I love him. He's a fantastic player.
Wow.
Can we go to the 300K spy for a second?
Let's do it.
First place went to, I want to say, a good friend of, not even a good friend of mine. He's an avid watcher of this show as well. So he loves the content at Awesemo too. He's big part of our stream, kind of a newcomer, I'd say, but one that has been putting in so much time into truly getting better at the game. Franchise 912, man. If you guys don't know him, he's always around semi-trolling because the guy has a great attitude, but took down $50,000. Awesome. I believe, I want to say it's his first big hit of his DFS career, and it came yesterday in a single entry tournament, man. He reached out to me yesterday late night. And I know everyone in chat earlier, even in the YouTube chat, was saying congratulations. I don't know, warm congratulations to him, man. Fantastic work. And I don't know if we could review the lineup for a second. I know that would make him proud.
Let's do it.
And great stuff, man. Awesome.
Let's do it. So it's a really, by the way, it's a really good lineup.
It's a fantastic lineup.
Like, it's not, you and I try and be pretty neutral, even if there's something that looks terrible. They won and we didn't that week. So
right.
There's only so much we can say, right? But this one, I love it.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this lineup.
No,
Zero.
Jameis Winston, Chris Carson, Miles Sanders, Chris Conley, Chris Godwin, Danny Amendola, Tyler Higbee, Julio Jones, and the Eagles. Notice there's no Brashad Perriman in here.
Yeah. So if you were stacking Winston, I was pretty much always going to pair him with Godwin, right? Mm-hmm. If you wanted to run it back, I felt Danny Amendola was the correct guy to run it back with. And then if you can piece together really good guys around him, some contrarian, some not, and just kind of pick the perfect players, that Julio play in a single entry is nuts. Miles Sanders in a single entry is nuts. And then you have the winning combo as far as game stacks is concerned in as your main stack. To land on this with one entry is pretty darn impressive.
It is. Miles Sanders at that price is just a really good play because not many people were going to pay that much for him.
Yeah, you want to talk about a good sweat too? He had messaged me. He won on the very last play of the slate, the Julio Jones touchdown to win it.
Amazing.
Actually put him in first place right there at the very end.
Let me do you one better, dude. How about this?
Sure.
Not only did he win on the last play of that game, but the last play of the Eagles game was a defensive fumble return for a touchdown.
Oh my goodness, you're right.
Yep.
Whoa.
2 final plays of the well, it was the last. The Niners wasn't technically the last play. There was a kickoff and
all right,
good stuff. But
you're right.
Yeah, actually, and Atlanta ended up scoring on that as well. But yeah, he had the last play of the Eagles game and the last offensive play of the Atlanta game.
Wow, talk about a sweat, dude.
Yep. And what? Conley had 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns.
Yeah, man. Talk about a sweat, dude. That's insane, man. I'm truly happy when it happens to people like this because, like, anytime someone tells us they watch our show or they listen on SiriusXM. By the way, he's a listener on SiriusXM too. Like, he just really enjoys our content, and if it happens to someone like that who's putting in the time and work, dude, I always get extremely happy for that. We do our best to kind of just cover what most of the pros do. Or did and how we can learn from them. Dude, looking at stuff like this makes me so happy, man. I can't be happier for guys like this.
Yeah, congratulations, man. This is very cool. Quarterback, wide receiver, opponent. That was the stack type.
Yep.
Chris Klossner really loves using that heart emoji, by the way.
Is that too feminine for you or what?
No, it's just literally every comment has the heart. Like literally almost every comment has the heart. It's just funny. No, I don't care if it's feminine or not.
That's awesome.
I send you blowing kiss emojis all the time. What are you going to do about it? 242. Someone said no Perriman must have been a single entry. Well, yeah, and we mentioned it was single entry at the top, but spread love, Laffy, Chris. That's awesome. I like Chris, man. He's a good guy.
Yeah, good guy.
But the funny thing is, yes, it was single entry. Dude still dropped 242. That's still a monster
I don't care
score.
if you're an MME or not. That's one heck of a score, dude.
Still a monster score. Absolutely. Over at our sponsor, Yahoo, I just wanted to take a look at the perfect lineup for Yahoo and see what we got, Manny. Sometimes it's a lot different than the one on DraftKings. So if you remember a couple weeks ago, it only took up 78% of the cap.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
So, and there also is the Sunday night game, which I highly doubt anyone from that was in the optimal. Jameis Winston, McCaffrey, Kenyon Drake, $17. Wow. Julio Jones, Anthony Miller, Rashad Perriman, Tyler Higbee, Miles Sanders, and the Vikings. I never would have thought Anthony Miller was going to be in the optimal. And I even had considered.
He didn't do that great, did he?
I even considered getting him into some lineups, but I was like, I feel like I'm wasting with the ones that I was hand building.
Agreed.
For other ones. I mean, he had 30 fantasy points.
I didn't even see that, dude. I know he had a touchdown there at the end, but I didn't even see that.
I would love to know what his ownership was in the Millie Maker.
Virtually nothing. Impossible.
Is there any way we can actually pull that up or no?
Yeah, I can get that for you. Hold up.
You are the man.
Yep. Let me see if I can get it for you.
Because you have to think that
2% owned.
2% owned on Anthony Miller. Okay. 2%.
Virtually nobody.
Man, by the way, I should have trusted myself on Terry McLaurin.
My goodness.
I was on him all week. I mentioned it to you on Sirius. I'm like, listen, this is just a terrible. The Eagles can't tackle. Their angles they take the worst angles of approach on defense. And now Darius Slayton and Terry McLaurin have carved them to pieces.
You know what you should do? Like every time or every week, just the Eagles like the back of your hand, dude. Just like know where they're struggling and just play a person against the Eagles every time.
I should. Next week we've got Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup.
Oh my goodness!
I'm sure they'll get shut out. But what are you gonna do? Yeah. Anyway, anything else you want to look at before we head out?
No, man, that was fantastic. Again, for those that were struggling or struggled in week 15, it happens, man. Some stuff didn't go your way, whether it was, I don't think we had much injuries. I know someone in the live final, Good Sab, another one of our guys, had an inactive. So if you were one of the guys that had like an Njoku inactive and there were no late swap, kind of unfortunate. But as far as I'm concerned, no. I think the week was pretty straightforward. I think if you were on some good stacks, if you got a little bit different, still mixing in the good chalk, you did well, and then very well. And then if you just kind of just rode the chalk, I think you still had somewhat of a green day at worst break even. So for all you contrarian players, kind of rough because most of the chalk did hit, but again, just stick to what your process tells you. Again, if you feel like you're a winning player, continue the grind, and it'll come around for you. It comes around for most players. So just whenever it's your time, it will be your time.
Who was the inactive?
Njoku yesterday, just random right before the game.
Right.
And then Ricky Seals Jones catches 2 touchdowns.
Oh, wow.
Brutal.
Did he? That's crazy, man. By the way, that was another game where if you stacked like Kirk and Fitzgerald and Landry and Beckham and you saw the amount of points scored.
Oh my goodness.
Right? You're like,
horrible.
You're thinking, all right, like with that, you and I always say, say you're out to dinner with your girl and you check under the table towards the end of the game and or lunch, whatever, and it's 35-30, and you're like, shit, right. Yeah, here we go, we're in business now. You get in the real good mood. Hey babe, order anything you want. and you start bringing bottles over and everything, and then you pull up the box score, right? You pull up the box score because let's not forget, we're talking about a Cleveland team yesterday that gave up 38 points. This game had 62 total points. You bring up the box score. You're doing one of these, Manny. I know this is your motion. You like to do this, right? You're doing that under the table. You might get some trouser action, and it's not from your girl. And you look, and it's like Kenyon Drake 4 touchdowns. And that's it.
It's the worst. It was so bad.
Kenyon Drake.
I had Fitzgerald, so I actually did this in real life.
Yeah,
dude.
It was the worst. Kenyon Drake and Ricky Seals Jones had 6 touchdowns. That's all you need to know.
That's the worst, man. The worst.
Crazy. Just crazy. Anyway, where can they find you, man?
Yeah, all my work is on fantasycruncher.com. You guys use the tools here now, so we're always continuing to improve the product. And if you guys could send feedback, that'd be fantastic. You can catch my live streams usually right after this, twitch.tv/mlaura. I'm also at mlaura on Twitter.
Good stuff. Check out his streams and check him out on Twitter. Follow Manny at mlaura. Make sure to do that. Follow me as well while you're at it. Best decision of your life. LOUGHY_D. Our Twitter handles are right above our heads. If you haven't done so yet, NFL Strategy will get you 50% off your first week of Awesemo Plus membership. No better way to try us out, to check out what we've got behind the paywall, the ownership projections, the player projections, all of our premium articles, the lineup builder, the Fantasy Cruncher add-on, the premium Slack chat, and so much more. All of that you can have by using the sign-up code NFL Strategy at awesemo.com/join. Use the code NFL Strategy. Get 50% off your first week of Awesemo Plus Platinum membership. Hey, we appreciate all you guys. Mike, E-Rush, Nick, Timothy, Chris, and everyone else that is not still in the chat. I'm just reading names off chat, but a lot of these guys are regulars, Manny, and they hang out with us every week. You guys enjoy the show. Hit us with a thumbs up. We appreciate it. It also helps us to continue doing free shows. Subscribe, hit that notification bell as well. We'll see you back here next time on the NFL Strategy Show presented by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports.